Welcome to the Passive Income Machine podcast, where we show you how to break free from the grind and achieve real financial freedom in 10 years or less. My name is Ryan D. Lee, and I've helped thousands turn income into cash flow, trade fake money for real assets, and take back control over their time, their wealth, and ultimately their life. Each week, you'll get strategy, tools, and mindset to build your own passive income machine. So my friends, sit back, relax, and enjoy today's episode. All right, my friends, welcome back to the Passive Income Machine. You are on the microphone today with me, Ryan D. Lee, and today I have the most important question that you have to have an answer to in order for you to retire. Now, I want you to consider this. In the world of investing, in the world of saving for retirement, all of us are doing basically the same thing. We're trading our time for money. We're then taking the money that we're able to save and we're putting it somewhere. Now, on this podcast, obviously, I'm advocating for the Passive Income Machine as opposed to any of the other next best alternatives, but we're putting our money somewhere in the hope of one day having enough money to be able to buy our time back. That's essentially the idea of retirement. But there has to be one question that we both ask and have a very clearly defined answer to in order for the idea of retirement to actually work. Now, I want you to consider this, okay? Let's say that you are stranded on a desert island, okay? You're by yourself on this desert island. You got capsized on a boat. You're on this island, and you find enough food. The food, the island has plenty of food on it. Fruits, vegetables, I don't know, maybe even they have like a McDonald's on the island, right? But there's plenty of food, but there's absolutely no sources of fresh water. So you eat enough on day one, but you're kind of thirsty. On day two, you hope you're going to get rescued, but you don't know. You eat enough on day two, but again, you're getting very, very thirsty. The average human being can't survive past 3 to 5 days without any water. So on day three, you're sitting on the beach wondering if this might be it for you, wondering if you're ever going to get rescued, wondering what to do, and maybe, if this might be the end for you. Then in the distance, you see a barrel floating in the ocean. That barrel kind of bobs and weaves and floats, and it floats right up to shore, and you crack that barrel open, and with your eyes wide open, you see that the barrel is full of fresh drinking water. Now, you're parched, you're so thirsty, you've been on this desert island for the better part of 3 days now with nothing to drink, and you about dip your head into that water and take the biggest gulp of water that you possibly can, but right before you do it, there's a thought that crosses your mind, okay? And this thought is, how long does this water need to last? Are you going to be on this island for a month, a year, 5 years, for the rest of your life? If this is the only source of fresh drinking water that you have, knowing or not knowing how long it needs to last, how much are you actually going to drink? And the answer to that is as little as possible. Now, what does this have to do with you and the idea of retirement? I want you to consider this. Most people are following a very similar analogy for their retirement. They're saving up a big pile of cash, a big bucket of money, and they're wondering how much money needs to be in that bucket for them to be able to retire. Now, here's the question that you have to have an answer to. How much money do you have to be able to retire? And the fact that that is such an important question, but it has never been addressed inside of your retirement plan, kind of underscores the problem with traditional retirement planning. They don't want you to ask that question because they definitely don't want to give you the answer to that question. Now, I want you to think about retirement planning kind of like a mountain climb, okay? If you're following any form of traditional financial planning, you're probably putting your money in the market in some form or fashion, whether that's in a mutual fund, whether that's in a brokerage account, whether that's in a 401k. Maybe you're actively trading, maybe you're just passively putting your money in, but almost everyone that comes into my world has the majority of their money allocated to the market in some form or fashion. In fact, 71% of all retirement assets are in the stock market. Now, here's the problem with that, okay? When you're climbing up your proverbial financial mountain here, you're going up the mountain. This is the accumulation phase of your financial journey. And eventually you hope to get to the top of your proverbial financial mountain, have quote unquote enough money to be able to retire and come safely back down. But when you're going up the mountain, when you experience market volatility, when the market drops and takes a 10% loss, a 15% loss, a 20% loss, a 2008 40% loss, whatever it is, when the market drops, you watch your retirement account can't go down, but it doesn't really impact your lifestyle. Yeah, it kind of depresses you a little bit. You wonder if it's going to recover fast enough. You wonder if you're going to be able to retire. But at the end of the day, what is funding your lifestyle isn't your retirement assets. It's your active efforts. It's your active income. And so going up this proverbial financial mountain, we're told that it's okay. The market is inherently volatile. It always comes back. And while all of that is true, what it fails to address is crossing over the threshold and going into retirement. The rules change the second you go into retirement. As soon as you go into retirement, I want you to imagine this. Let's say you retire and within 2 years, you have a market loss. Now imagine what's happening in that year. If you experience a market loss in that year, both the market drops as well as you're taking money out of your account. It's a double negative impact. And with a double negative impact, the mathematical probability of you running out of money goes up dramatically. Now, this is the inherent problem with not asking and answering the question to begin with. How much money do I have to be able to retire? Now, again, you would think that this would be a very clear-cut question that most financial planners would start their financial plan with, would regulate every discussion that they have with you towards, and would measure your progress towards that elusive idea of having enough money to be able to retire. But here's the problem. That number is governed by math telling you that in order for you to retire and to do it safely, meaning you don't take out too much money out of your account so you outlive your retirement balance, the rule that Wall Street gives you is what is called the 4% rule. Now, you might have heard of that. Maybe you haven't. But if you haven't, I'm going to invite you to Google it or ask ChatGPT about it, because this is how retirement planning works when you're following traditional financial planning. In order for you to take money out of your account safely and to be able to navigate all of the ups and the downs of the market in retirement, the most you should distribute from your account is 4% of whatever the account balance is. So imagine this. If you have $1 million when you get ready to retire, you might think that's enough. You might think that you've been diligent and you've saved enough money to be able to retire. But if you're only able to take a 4% distribution on that, that means that's $40,000. $1 million portfolio is only capable of generating for you 4% in retirement income. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, that sounds impossible. That sounds crazy. If my market account is doing 7, 8, 9%, why can I only take a 4% distribution? Now, here's again the problem. Okay, in an average sense, the market is doing 7 or 8%. But averages only work when you're accumulating your assets. You could look at your retirement account over 5, 10, 15 years and say my average return has been X. But in retirement, average is meaningless. Actual is the only thing that matters. The only thing that matters is what did your account do this year? If your account lost 10% this year and you took a 4% distribution, the following year, your account's going to have a double-digit return just to get back to break even. In fact, the math is so dangerous on this. If you lose 10% in the markets, okay, just 10% in the markets, that let's say you have $100,000. If you lose 10% of the market, it's now down to $90,000. So the following year, you'd have to earn an 11% return, not a 10% return, just to get back to break even. But if all you took was a 4% distribution, you'd need to earn a 25% rate of return, or 26% rate of return the following year to get back to break even. And so what governs retirement planning, if you're following to the traditional method, is the 4% rule. And said another way, here's how you could do this. Whatever amount of income you want, multiply that by 25. So let's say you want an income stream of $150,000. That's your desired income in retirement. If you multiply that by 25, it's going to tell you need to have $3.7 million saved up to therefore turn around and be able to spend 4% of that distribution using what is called a Monte Carlo simulation. So, my friends, I want you to understand how challenging this actually is. The average person going into retirement, just a few years out, has less than a total net worth of $250,000. So most people, in fact, the vast majority of people are going to enter retirement completely broke. And they're going to enter retirement where they're living longer, the market is increasingly more volatile, and they don't have enough money to retire. They're primarily relying on Social Security, and they're putting themselves at a major risk of running out of money in retirement. And I want you to consider this. Running out of money in retirement is kind of like jumping out of a plane without a parachute. As soon as you jump, it's really hard to get back in the plane. great. But when you run out of money in retirement, you don't run out in year 5, you don't run out in year 7, you run out in year 10, 11, and 12. If you retire at the age of 65 in the traditional sense and you run out of money at 73, what are you going to do? Like, can you go back into the workforce and get the same amount of income that you were getting before? No, you can't. The further removed from the workforce you are, your skills are diminished and declined, and you're never going to be able to make the money that you were previously making. So, my friends, here's the challenge. Without an answer to that question, you can't ever actually retire confidently. Even if you do have an answer to that question, you're likely not ever going to retire confidently because everything that you're pursuing is out of your control. Hey, quick time out from the show. I just had to pop in and say if this content is resonating with you, the How to Retire in 10 Years Summit is going to blow your mind. Every strategy you hear us talk about starts there. This is the ultimate event for creating real financial freedom in 2025. We've got an early registration bonus that you're not going to want to miss. Spots are filling fast, so check out that link in the description or just head over to retireit10years.com and get registered now. Let's make this your year. Now, back to the show. Now, this is the reason that I talk about the passive income machine so much on this podcast. Obviously, I'm not trying to help you do traditional things better. The system is broken. And the only question is, will you acknowledge it? Will you recognize it for what it is? Because the only way to win in this game isn't to use a broken system better. That's just losing less dramatically. The way to win is to do the exact opposite, to become the outlier, to walk away from this cult of the average and do something that's not just a little bit better, do the extraordinary. So my friends, that's why we talk about the passive income machine. The passive income machine is a system. It's a system to take control over your money. And more than anything, it's a system designed with the end in mind. The purpose of all long-term savings is to generate an income stream. And because that is not acknowledged in traditional finance, they keep you distracted with rates of return, with, portfolio asset allocation, with, distribution, not distribution, but anything that keeps you focused on the accumulation phase of your game. That's what they want you to focus on. They do not ever want you to ask the question of how much money do I need to retire? Because the second they put the math in front of you of the 4% rule, you realize that you're playing an unwinnable game. What is the likelihood of you being able to save millions of dollars inside of a 401k or an IRA just so you can turn around and take a 4% distribution? There are very few people that are ever going to be able to do that. So here's the reality I want you to consider. In order for you to be financially free, you have to understand the system of money. You have to understand what money is. Money is quite simply something that you trade your time for. It's a universal truth. Money is a lot of things, but the one thing that is always true, it's something that you're trading your time for, which means the second you have money in your hands, in order to honor the time that you've traded and to honor the time that you want to buy back, you have to become an investor, not a speculator, as we talked about in episode 14. You have to become an investor. An investor is someone who understands how to turn money into income. An investor is someone who understands how to convert fake dollars into real assets. They use the economic forces, inflation, taxes, interest rate, and opportunity cost for their advantage. They position their money in such a way that they get wealthy automatically because of the positioning of their money. And they begin with the end in mind. The purpose of all long-term savings is income. Once you understand that, you start looking at the world of investing as a process of elimination. That's really what it is. If you find something that doesn't give you as good of an income stream, you eliminate it. Why would I ever put money in a 401k or in a market-based account if the best I can get from that is a 4% distribution rate? When on the other side, if I could put money into a private pension or into a passive income machine and double or triple or quadruple my income with the same amount of money, why would I not do that instead? This is the power of asking the right questions and getting, therefore, the right answers. So with this, I want you to consider the game, I believe, is actually rigged against you. Now, whether or not the people that are dispensing the advice are doing it nefariously or not, I don't believe that. I believe most financial planners, most people in the traditional financial planning space are doing the best they can. They're doing the best they can with limited beliefs, with limited understanding, and they're doing what they've been taught to do. They're likely following the exact same advice that they've given you. I call these financial advisors goldfish financial advisors, simply because they don't know that they're swimming in the Wall Street goldfish bowl. They don't know what water is. But you you, my friends, are pursuing financial freedom. You're raising your financial intelligence and you're learning how to master money. The process of mastering money is understanding the economy for what it is, understanding what money is and how it works, becoming an investor, and really positioning your money today to generate an income stream as effectively and as predictably as possible in the shortest time frame as possible. Rather than retiring one day, this is why we talk about the idea of financial freedom in 10 years or less. The simple act of setting such an audacious goal of financial freedom in 10 years or less causes us to look at the traditional game of investing and say it's broken. It doesn't work. It's likely never going to work, but it for sure will never allow me to become financially free in 10 years or less. So by looking at the game in this way, you can start to play the game not just better, but you play a completely different game of money. That's really the equation here. Over these last couple of episodes, I've quite literally lined up for you the alternative game of money. And I hope you're seeing it for what it is, because at the other end of this, winning inside of this game of money, no matter which side you're playing in, the traditional side or the passive income machine side, winning means life. Winning means time. Winning means waking up in the morning with options and freedom, saying I can do whatever I want today, and then using both your time and your money to live a purpose-driven life. My friends, if you're getting at something out of these episodes, I'm going to ask you to do two things. Number one, share it with a friend, because friends don't let friends retire broke. And number two, do something about it. Convert your knowledge into wisdom, and wisdom is the function of taking action. So my friends, that's what I've got for you today. Join me on next time's episode, where we'll continue the conversation of the passive income machine. All right, my friends, thanks so much for hanging out today. I really appreciate you tuning in. But before you go, if we talked about something today that made you want to take action, you need to get yourself registered for the How to Retire in 10 Years Summit. It's the financial game changer that you've been looking for, teaching you exactly how to create passive income and financial freedom in 2025. Jump on it early, because we've got a special bonus waiting for you. All the details are in the link below, or head on over to retireintenyears.com. So get registered, and I'll see you at the summit.